Hello again. This is another video on Ferrari California maintenance. This time we're going to change the engine oil on the California. It's a pretty straightforward process. Hopefully this will help you if you are about to go and do your own oil change on the engine oil. You will need a few basic things. You'll need a couple of simple tools like a torque wrench to torque the drain plug back up, a little tool to get the oil filter off, and pretty much a screwdriver to get the undercover off that guards the engine. The actual materials you'll need about 11 litres of 5W40 full synthetic oil. You will need a oil filter, and for the drain plug, ideally another washer, or if you so choose, another new drain plug as well. I'm reusing the drain plug on mine, but I am going to put a new crush washer on it. So let's take a quick look at the tools and the materials that you'll need. So here are the tools and materials that you will need to do the job. I've got 3 5-litre 5W40 full synthetic Valvoline oil here. You'll need about 11 litres or so. We'll get onto that in a second when you actually come to doing it. I've got the Ferrari 234742 oil filter cartridge here. That's pretty much it for materials except for a crush washer. I will be reusing the drain plug, but I'll be putting a new crush washer on it. And the actual tools that you need are pretty simple. You'll need a N10 hex bolt nut to get the drain plug out, torque wrench to reset the torque on the drain plug, about 25 Newton meters, 19 pounds, and a little tool to get the oil filter off. The actual Ferrari is pretty well set up, in all honesty, to do this job. It comes with a little drain here. You can see the filter that I'm just touching to here. It's got like a casing that goes around it. So when you actually loosen this with the cartridge with the tool, oil will start to drain out of here, so you don't have oil going all over the place as you usually do when you try and take a filter off. Here's the drain plug, which I'm pointing to here. So your hex nut's going to go underneath that. It's got the Italian writing for oil underneath here, Olio, as you can see. I've already taken the cover off underneath. There's about, I don't know, 10, 12 or so bolts that you take out. That's pretty straightforward and easy to do. So let's get on with the job. So first thing is set up your oil catchment. The oil is going to come out here pretty quickly when we take that drain plug out, so make certain that you've got some rags at hand in case it overflows. Haven't had that happen to me yet, but this thing, you're going to lift the little vent plug up here and take the drain plug out. This thing here out of there, and then the oil will just flow straight into here. So there's going to be 11 litres coming out at a fair old lick. I haven't bothered warming the car up, although that would help. It would also help if you lift the bonnet or hood up and take out the fill plug. When you're going to put the oil back in, that'll just allow the oil to come out a bit quicker. As I say, I've not started my car and run it and it's warm. It will come out a lot more easier, I think, if you're going to run it up to a reasonable temperature, so the oil will flow better. But I'm just going to let gravity do its job. Word of caution here, when you take the drain plug out, oil is really going to gush out here. I mean, you're going to have 11 litres, no matter whether it's cold or warm, wanting to get into this catchment pot. And you can see on my pot here, it's about an inch and 3/4 deep, and I had a problem. It spilled over the edge, and so I was scrambling around to find the plug to put it back in there whilst I found something else to try and mop up the oil. So just make certain whichever receptacle you're going to use to catch the oil, the fluid actually gets into the drain plug, which is actually here on this thing, pretty quickly. I didn't use this thing the last time I did it. I actually have you can see a fairly big receptacle over there. I used that, which was great. Didn't have any spillage until I came to try and drain that thing, and it was so weak on the corners the oil spilled out of that. So anyway, that's just a word of caution. I've got a new crush washer here. I actually measured this thing. It's about 22 millimeters in diameter, and it is about 1¼ millimeters thick. So if you want to get one of those, quite often they'll actually come with a cartridge, but if it doesn't, you can just shop around for one on Amazon or whatever. Here's the actual drain plug. It looks to be brass of some nature, like inside I think this is a magnet here that will catch anything that's is floating around in your engine. Inspect that when you take it out. I didn't have much at all on here, but having said that, I only changed the oil about a year ago, and I've done about 2,000 miles in it. And I think the recommendation on this is to change it either once a year or 5,000 to 7,000 miles, whichever is your preference. I live in a warm climate. It gets pretty hot here. I'm just north of Houston, and really, for what it costs, which is not very expensive, $50 for a filter, which I haven't got off yet, and I don't know, 25, $30 for 5 liters. So times that by 3, so you're going to need about 11 liters. The whole job's going to be about $120, something like that, including the new crush washer. I've loosened the oil filter here. Actually, I'd put this thing back on, so you pretty much do these hand tight, not much more than that, and then they should come out. I've used the tool on it just to loosen it, and I'm just going to show you what happens when you start to loosen it. I'm not going to take it all the way off. I'm going to let it get down, and you can see the oil is now starting to drain out of what was actually in the filter itself. I've moved my catchment point here, and I'm still dripping, so I've got another little tub over there just to catch the dregs of oil that are coming out the fill plug. So I'm just going to let this drain down for a couple of minutes, get all the oil out of it, and then pretty much when that's almost dripping, I will then take the filter off. So you can see now that we're really down to a very slow drip coming out of the little drain here for the oil filter. So I'll take the oil filter off. There'll still be a little bit of oil in it, but try and do this with one hand so you can see what actually happens when I take it out. There you go, a little bit more oil coming out. See it? But I can now get this filter off. There we go. And you can see only a little bit is actually coming out of that. And so we're in pretty good shape with that thing there. We'll just leave that for a minute or two just to drain down, but I don't know whether you can see there's a tiny little drip coming out of here. Any of you that have changed an oil filter before, you'll know generally when you take the filter off you get oil all over the place. So this little drain tool here, drain plug, whatever you want to call it, which kind of comes out of like a plastic casing that goes around the oil filter, is really helpful, really useful. It's a good idea just to take a little rag and get inside of here and just try and just clean it out a little bit, get any vestiges of oil that are still in there out, so that it doesn't continue to leach out later on. Once you've done that, get your new oil filter, as all good practice. Smear a bit of oil around the rubber O-ring that's in there. That will just allow it to seat nicely against the engine, and obviously it will stop you or stop it from really seizing overly tight as you go through the various heat cycles when you're driving the car. So some people will ask, well, what does hand tight mean? Because obviously that's different for different people. What I normally do is I'll stick a glove on and just really turn that until I can't turn it anymore, and that should be tight enough. I mean, clearly if you've got smaller hands or you can't this is not fantastically accessible. It's not bad actually, but you could actually even use the little tool here and just reverse the ratchet on it and tighten it a little bit, but you shouldn't need to do that. I've never had anything leach out of this when I've changed it before, just by taking it to hand tight. So as I said, put a little bit of oil around the O-ring, put that back in so that it's hand tight, and really you're ready to go to the next step. Interesting, just so you know how much oil actually comes out of this thing. I mean, this is probably 20 minutes in, it's still dripping, and since I put that tray there, I've got a good 3/4 of an inch of oil in that little tub. So you know, it's still dripping out there. I mean, you can leave this thing for a few hours if you want, so that it drips right down. I don't think that's necessary. You're never going to get all the oil out, and you're going to be putting 11 litres back in here, so you're going to be diluting it. What little bit of old oil was left in, and as I said, this oil is barely a year old. Actually, when it came out, it's still pretty clean, so I don't think it's a problem just to leave a little drop of oil, old oil, in your engine. So I've wiped it down, reseated the plug. I'm just going to nip that up. And then we'll put a torque wrench on it and torque it up to 25 Newton meters or 19 pounds. So if anyone hasn't used a torque wrench before, this is what you're looking for. Seat it in there, set it, and once you've got it set, just turn it and you hear that little click. Okay, I'll just push it just a fraction more. Okay, so that's it. That's that bolt fill plug seated to the correct torque, and now we're ready to fill it back up with oil, and you're almost done. When it comes to refilling your car with your chosen 5W40 full synthetic oil, your oil plug is going to be on the right hand side of the engine. Pretty easy to twist her off. Give it a quick inspection, make certain there isn't any milky deposits or anything around there, which there aren't, and then just go ahead and start to fill her. My suggestion is put probably about 10 litres in. Once you've got that 10 litres in, take your dipstick out. I've already got mine out. Show you it here. Again, pretty straightforward, but you can see on this thing, just let it focus. Hope you can see it's got a minimum and a maximum on there. So basically, let's lay it down, show you what you're aiming for. Alright, let it settle. So here's your minimum, here's your maximum. So you're aiming obviously for somewhere towards the max. You don't want any more than maximum in it. But once you've got 10 litres in, your dipstick actually goes over here to the left hand side of the engine as you're at the front of the car. Just check where you are. Obviously if you're a bit low, fill it again, and so on until you get it to the desired point, which is just going to be below the maximum. Once you've done that, take it out for a run, spin her up, come back, let it cool, let it go down, recheck it. If you need to top it up, and that's it, pretty much done. Once you've done that, all you got to do obviously is put your fill plug cap back on and put your engine cover underneath, and the job is done. So that's it.